I've launched 3 different online businesses over the past 11 years, and in this video, I'm sharing openly all of my learnings from the good and the bad to the ugly. Hi there, I'm Janet LeBlanc from Paper and Spark. I help makers and artists just like you start and scale profitable online shops to help you achieve your entrepreneurial dreams and hit your financial goals with ease. By the end of this, you'll hopefully learn from my mistakes and save yourself some money and a whole lot of time and energy. Now keep in mind, I'm an accountant that started some handmade online businesses, so many of my mistakes probably aren't the typical ones that many non-accounting minded people may be making. Lots of sellers make foundational mistakes like neglecting to open a business bank account or do their sales tax properly or get the right paperwork done for their shop. So I knew to do those things. Those aren't the mistakes that I made. This is not going to be your typical list of those kinds of startup mistakes. So if you want my ultimate guide to starting and scaling a handmade shop that includes some of those things, make sure to check out that video here. For some context, if you want to know the history of my entrepreneurial time, in 2011, I opened an Etsy shop called Lazy Owl Boutique, which is a terrible business name, by the way. And at that point in time, I really desperately needed a creative outlet from working my soul-sucking cubicle job as a CPA. Now, I sold handmade jewelry for several years, both locally and in that online shop. Lots of rings, earrings, necklaces. And a few years later, in 2013, I had my first baby. Running to the post office and constantly creating new jewelry products and keeping all of those tiny, shiny, sparkly beads around became harder for me to juggle with my newborn. So I taught myself how to use Photoshop, and I opened another online shop, which was a print-on-demand business, using the designs I created on paper goods, things like binders and journals, along with mugs, tote bags, other printed items. My personalized Dear Baby journals and my recipe binders did well through that shop, and I started that in 2014. About a year later, I decided to combine my accounting knowledge with my love of things handmade and creative and my entrepreneurial side. And I created my first bookkeeping spreadsheet, which was called the Etsy Seller Spreadsheet. And that's really when Paper and Spark got started. For a long time, I ran all 3 of these businesses simultaneously. But now, fast forward to 2022, I specialize solely in digital products and courses, specifically helping other handmade sellers with the financial and business side of running their business, and that's what I do with Paper and Spark. So basically, I've sold handmade physical products, I've designed print-on-demand dropship products, and I've created and sold 100% digital products and courses like an infopreneur in some way, shape, or form since 2011. I've learned many lessons over the course of doing these different things, and every mistake or failure has helped me evolve on my business journey in some way. There's not been anything that I regret. Everything has been a stepping stone towards running a profitable, successful business. So let's dive into my specific mistakes that I want you to avoid. The first one is not properly tracking my inventory. So even though I am an accountant, I too made this one big mistake that I am still preaching about to this day to other physical product sellers, and that is not properly tracking your products, your inventory, not properly calculating cost of goods sold. So I didn't track my physical products properly when I started selling jewelry. I wasn't tracking my inventory quantities the right way. There's a right way to be doing it, and sum it up to say that as a business, you shouldn't be deducting the cost of your inventory that includes your raw materials and supplies until you actually use it and sell it to a customer. That means that you want to track your inventory quantities and your cost per unit properly. I soon figured this out at tax time as a jewelry seller, and I had to backtrack my inventory quantities and my purchases to do it the right way for that first year. And that's exactly how the Paper and Spark inventory spreadsheet came about. Now I make it part of my job every day to educate other makers and sellers on how to properly track and record their physical inventory so they don't get surprised at tax time like I did. The second mistake I made is on that same note of inventory, and it was keeping too much inventory, too much raw materials and supplies on hand. When I made jewelry, I bought way too much stuff. Does that sound familiar? If you're a maker, let me know in the comments. I loved buying materials. If you sell things made out of fabric, maybe you like to collect fabric, the list of things that you might have a stash of could be endless depending on what you make and sell. But if you're like me, you might love stocking up on shiny objects. I had so much stuff that there were literally not enough days in a year for me to create jewelry products with all of the things that I had. So not only did this really eat into the money I was making, I was spending all that I was making on buying more shiny things, but the storage aspect also overwhelmed me. I stopped selling jewelry in 2017, and it took me years after that to sell or destash my remaining supplies because I had accumulated so much. So don't be afraid to put barriers around your business spending, your problem areas, especially if your problem area is your raw materials and supplies. Try limiting yourself to a set percentage of last month's sales, for instance, when it comes to restocking your materials. Keep a good method up to keep yourself in line. The third mistake that I made was offering too many customization options. It wasn't good for me, and it wasn't a good shopping experience for my ideal customer. I particularly made this mistake when it came to my print-on-demand products. I don't have to keep things in stock, so I might as well offer all of these customization and personalization options. You can design it however you want. I'll make it for you however you want. So many options. So with like my personalized binders and journals, for instance, customers could request their own special words or phrases printed, so they personalized it. They also got to choose a pattern or a design to go on their item, a certain background, let's say. And they could choose their typography of choice and the color of that font or typography. And I offered at least 10 things of all of these. So 10 different patterns or colors, 10 different fonts, whatever you wanted it to say. So there's like hundreds of iterations here. That created a lot of decisions that my customer needed to make. And it also created a ton more work for me. And there was a lot of back and forth between me and my customers because I also provided proofs of their design before we went to print. So simplifying these options down to just like 3 or so choices of each thing made my life a lot easier, and it also prevents decision fatigue for your ideal customer. So don't be afraid to simplify. You don't need to offer all of the things and confuse people and make more work for yourself. You may actually find that your sales go up if you offer fewer customization options. If you're finding this less helpful so far, like this video and subscribe to my channel for more useful stuff for e-commerce sellers. My fourth mistake was setting my prices too low. So I've made this mistake pretty much with all 3 of my businesses. I guess it's a hard one for me to learn. The jewelry shop that I started on Etsy, like everyone else, it was a challenge for me not to compare my earring prices, my ring prices to other sellers on Etsy. And after packaging my first few orders, especially when I was hand making wire wrap rings, custom orders and stuff like that, I realized that I needed to increase my prices to make my time worth it. With Paper and Spark, fast forwarding to now, I started selling spreadsheets in 2015 and they were priced at $23. 7 years later, they are $97. That's more than 3 times the price. They have always been a one-time, lifetime purchase. I don't make people buy new spreadsheets each year, and I provide a lot of hands-on customer support. I spend a lot of time doing that. So I still have customers to this day that bought a spreadsheet for $23, and they're receiving support and updates from me now. So I quickly learned that I need to value my time and my energy and my efforts and increase my prices substantially to keep running a profitable business that allows me to pay myself what I need. So pricing has definitely been a process for me. It's a lot about mindset. It's a lot about realizing your worth and the value that you provide to your customers. It's a lot of that partnered with just honing your brand, getting your business presence out there, building that reputation. And I think it's okay to build your confidence and grow that mindset over time. I think that's natural. On that note, my fifth and final mistake that I've made with my businesses is not getting in the habit of paying myself consistently earlier on in my business journey. So it's another lesson that took me a long time to learn. Consistently paying myself, even if it was just a small amount, has been the key to not getting burnt out over the long time. I've been doing this over a decade, so paying myself for my work is essential. When I was making jewelry and I started to hear the Etsy cha-ching that I made a sale, if I ever had that feeling of like, oh man, I gotta go create a ring now, I gotta go make a new thing, I gotta go to the post office. If I don't have a yay when I hear the cha-ching, that means I'm pricing myself too low. I'm not high enough, or I'm not paying myself enough, probably both. Now, I read Profit First about 2 years into running a business, and it made a major impact on how I operated and ran my shop. Getting in the habit of consistently paying myself from each and every sale I made really breathed new life into my business and myself as an entrepreneur. I'll be sharing another video soon on how I set up the ability to pay myself consistently after reading that book, so stay tuned. So there you have it, 5 of the biggest lessons I've learned in my 11 years as an online entrepreneur. Have you made any of these mistakes yourself? Or maybe there's another big mistake you want to share with us? Let me know in the comments. If you're a handmade business owner setting up shop and you want to make sure you're not missing any essential steps to getting set up properly, make sure to watch my ultimate guide to starting and scaling a handmade business. Check that video now, and I'll see you over there.